Let's continue our conversations now. We're still talking about the oil market. That is one sector that contributes less to the GDP but serves as a major foreign exchange earner for the country. For the first quarter GDP release today shows that sector contributed only 9.5% to the economy during the first quarter. Our next conversation will focus on the downstream oil sector, and I'm being joined by the chairman of Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, MOMAN, Mr. Adetunji Oyebanji. Good morning and thanks for speaking with us on Business Morning. Tell us, does it mean anything to you that the Nigerian oil and gas sector is a major source of revenue for the government but contributes less to the GDP growth?
Well, it's just the nature of the structure of the industry. In terms of foreign exchange earnings, it's virtually the major contributor. But when you look at GDP in itself, like you say, it only contributes 9%. The numbers, when you look at them closely, particularly for the downstream, our numbers are actually more reflective of what happens in manufacturing, road transportation, other transportation, that kind of thing. And if you see numbers either growing in those areas or declining, then it will give you a picture of the extent to which the downstream part of it is performing.
You guys in the sector have been clamoring for a complete deregulation of the sector. How would that help to change the narrative for this sector?
Thank you very much, and happy Eid to all our viewers out there. First and foremost, I would like to say that we're happy that the government is talking about deregulation. It's certainly something we have been clamoring for a long time. Secondly, the government sets policy for us as operators in the industry, but it's important that we make an input into those policies, just like, banking would make inputs and other people would make their own inputs too. So what I would say essentially is that for us in the downstream, what we are looking for is total liberalization of prices. We look for government to allow market forces determine the prices, particularly of gasoline. Already prices of ADO, ATK are all deregulated. We believe that is what should also happen with PMS. And really, the narrative, like you said, all along, the feeling has been that this will give opportunity to marketers to take advantage of the system. But really, contrary to that, this is about the survival of the industry. It's about the protection of jobs in the industry. It's about attracting foreign investment and local investment to grow the industry.
The monopoly of fuel importation has been removed from the NNPC, and that means that oil marketers can now import their own fuel. How would this impact the price of petrol, kerosene and diesel, considering the exchange rate?
Well, obviously, there's if we go to a fully deregulated environment, it means just like prices have come down in recent times, prices will also go up when international prices also go up. It's really difficult to talk about controlling the price of a product locally when you do not control the price of crude, which forms the key element for the refining of petroleum products. So yes, there will be an impact in terms of the foreign exchange rate. There's no doubt about that. But we believe that opening the door and making market-determined prices will bring about a lot of choice for customers. Different product grades would be available for people, rather than this big bang announcement where prices are universally increased across the country in every location. You will find a situation where different marketers will change their prices at their own rate. So the whole idea of contesting and fighting against those increases will not be there, because these things will happen at a different rate and in different locations at different times. So that kind of impact will not be there. But, to answer your question directly, yes, the exchange rate will have an impact as long as majority of our product continues to be imported.
There is also the issue of subsidy removal. If deregulation is granted, how will operators balance subsidy removal with the Petroleum Equalization Fund?
Well, first and foremost, again, the pronouncements by government saying that there will no longer be subsidy are very welcome. It's something we have talked about for a long time. Figures have been bandied around, but probably in the region of 10 trillion naira has been spent on subsidy over the last 10, 15 years. You can imagine what that could have done in terms of health facilities, educational facilities, infrastructure in the country. But how do you balance it? How do you deal with that issue? We feel that first and foremost, you need to put structures in place in terms of legislation, because today the institutions that support subsidy still remain in place. The Petroleum Subsidy Fund legislation, PEF legislation, PPPRA legislation, and our suggestion to government is that we should really go the whole hog, taking advantage of current situation of low prices, to amend the laws so that we have a situation where 100% we will not go back to the issue of subsidy again, because it costs too much for the country. The industry itself has suffered because of this, and many institutions, many companies have folded up over the years, and that has led to loss of jobs. Apart from that, we need to attract foreign and local investments into the industry. If we don't have that kind of, open market that attracts the kind of investments we need, it's going to be difficult to grow the industry, thereby create more jobs for people and to protect the thousands, if not millions, who are currently employed. So we need to see, going the whole hog beyond talking about just removing the subsidy to putting structures and legislation in place to ensure that it's a permanent thing rather than just something that happens only for a short time.
The impact on consumers now. What are some of the appropriate standards and regulations that can help to balance consumer protection and actualize this total deregulation?
Thank you very much for that question, because a lot of people have expressed concern, saying that, if we have full deregulation, that suddenly people will start to exploit people and all that. Certainly, we share the concern of government about protecting consumers. In fact, what we would argue is that it would be suicidal for anybody to try and exploit customers at this point in time. First and foremost, in many countries in the world where things have been deregulated, there are very, very strong consumer protection agencies that are empowered to impose very heavy and significant fines on people who seek to exploit or take advantage of consumers and customers. I think we need to have such institutions in Nigeria, and we as MOMAN will fully support such institutions to ensure that, we don't have that kind of exploitation. Secondly, competition that comes with full deregulation itself will penalize anybody who goes out of the way and charges outrageous prices. The market will penalize you heavily by driving markets away from you, driving customers away from you to people who are more reasonably priced. But overall, the kind of competition that will be able to engender will give a lot of choice to customers. They can go to places, it will be crazy for anybody to set prices in low-income areas where people's earning power is low, and set prices that are as high as in areas where people can pay a bit more for their fuel and probably have more expensive cars. So the market itself will sort all this out at the end of the day.
Mr. Adetunji Oyebanji, Chairman of Major Oil Marketers Association, would like to thank you for speaking with us on Business Morning.